So I finished the Financial Transformation Magick book this morning, so I thought I would film this review video while it was still fresh in my mind. This might be a long one, but I will put timestamps to the different sections if you want to sort of jump around to the ones that are relevant for you. So grab a beverage, sit back, and I hope you enjoy. So the Financial Transformation book is another book from the Gallery of Magick by Damon Brand. There are 24 rituals in the book and they last for various numbers of days. So for example, one ritual might be 9 days, another might be 19. And all in all, the book will take you about a year to complete because Damon recommends taking 2 to 3 day breaks between each ritual. You can take longer breaks if you want to, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But what I did is I followed that. I took 2-day break between each ritual. I did have a longer break towards the end of 2025 because I went into hospital for my cancer treatment. And then before I started the final ritual in the book, I went away on vacation for a week and I decided not to start that ritual while I was away. I wanted to start it once I came back. It's worth remembering this book is not a quick fix. If you need money quickly, this is not the book that is going to help you with that. There are likely other books out there that will get you the money quicker. Damon Brand recommends to work through the rituals from beginning to end and work through them in the order because he says that each part of the working builds on the last one. And that's what I did. There's a rationale for it, so I'm not going to muck around with what Damon is laying out. In terms of defining a goal for the Magick, Damon says that you may need other Gallery of Magick books if you're looking for a specific result. He says that the book offers a financial shift which keeps happening after the book is completed. My goal as I was working through the book was to become mortgage free. But the way that I was working towards that was paying extra money off my mortgage each month. And how I saw the Financial Transformation book was that it would help me shift my attitude toward money so that I would be able to keep paying more and more off my mortgage. If you have got a specific goal, it might be helpful to hold that lightly perhaps, and certainly not have something where you need it to happen really quickly. What Damon Brand mentions is that engagement and connection with the ideas in the book is what matters most. Generally, when I was working with the rituals, I didn't really experience that much in terms of feelings. And Damon Brand says you might not feel anything during the ritual, but that doesn't mean the magic isn't working. During some odd rituals, I did feel quite tearful. That was more some of the rituals early on into the magic, and I can't pinpoint why. But certainly when I returned to the book after my cancer treatment, when I started back onto the rituals again, I was quite fragile emotionally, as you can probably expect. I didn't know whether I would actually come back to doing this magic because I was just feeling really disillusioned with life generally. But as I started back with the rituals, it felt like I was being held in a way. The rituals were a real support to me at this time, even though I knew that the purpose was around wealth and finances. But to me, the definition of wealth doesn't just include finances. There's a sense of gratitude, and wealth is in being healthy and having loving people around you, and I think that's what I connected in with. So in terms of material results, the most significant result that came out of this magic is detailed in my previous video, but to summarize it here, I became mortgage free. But it came about in a way which was very bittersweet because it was linked to a health insurance payout because of my cancer that originally I had not intended to put in a claim for this insurance policy because the policy wording made it sound like I would not get the insurance paid out. So I put it off actually putting the claim in for a good while. I feel a lot of gratitude for the fact that I'm mortgage free and I don't have to worry about the house, but it's very bittersweet. I said in my previous video, if I could have my time again, I would rather be back paying extra off the mortgage than be in the position I'm in now. But that doesn't mean I'm not grateful. So that was the most significant result. I had a smaller amount, but again, that came at a really important time. When I had to go for my cancer treatment, I had to be in the hospital early in the morning. So we had to travel and stay in a hotel overnight. And the hotel was, I think it was about £350 for one night. It was ridiculous. And I wanted to be in a hotel near to the hospital because I didn't want to have to negotiate public transport because I was already, really anxious about it. But around that time, I got a tax refund, and the tax refund more than covered the hotel cost, and then it also helped with our travel costs. And especially as my treatment was a week before Christmas, that was really helpful. Now let's get on to the psychological changes that I experienced throughout this book, because I think these are much more significant. And I know people might think, well, that's easy for you to say, your mortgage is paid off. But honestly, I started planning doing this review months before. I was just jotting down notes of things I wanted to include. And this was before the insurance payout had come through. So I was writing down all the psychological changes. And honestly, if I had finished this book and hadn't had that insurance payout, I would still come away feeling very grateful for having done this work, because it has changed my outlook a lot. You know, the cancer diagnosis, that has changed things as well. So it's all kind of come together for me to make some really big shifts. The psychological changes that happened, specifically more in the earlier part of this book, which I talk about in my first video on this book, they are what helped me become more financially well off. Because what the psychological changes helped me to do was to really be much more mindful about how I was spending my money, realise that when we're shown things online, we're manipulated to think that we need this thing and it will make our lives better. It helped me to see through those manipulation tactics. And I'm not saying I don't still fall for that sometimes, but I'm far more questioning of what I look at online. I don't feel that I need as many material possessions. And so that meant I had more spare money to do what I needed to do, which was pay more off the mortgage. So I became more financially well off without actually any money coming to me, but just a shift in my attitude and the actions I was taking. Also, I started to understand the triggers for my spending money, and I think often this was to feel better in some way or to feel whole, which has got me thinking about there's clearly something I feel is missing, and I've been trying to fill that with things. Also, there was a ritual in the book around taking opportunities, so spotting opportunities for wealth and taking those. Part of me does feel that the reason that I actually put in the insurance claim after questioning it was just to take the opportunity and see what happened. Because I ended up thinking to myself, well, the only, the worst thing they could say is no. And what is so bad about that? The rituals help me to be more discerning about opportunities. I guess then if I wanted to take those opportunities, I've got the decision to. But in order to take the opportunity, you've got to spot it in the first place. I'll just grab hold of the book because there are a few things I highlighted in the book that I am meant to speak about. Something I highlighted in the book is, I'll read it out to you. It says, magic is not about waiting. If you're waiting, you are not using magic. You are expecting it to do the work for you. Magic removes obstacles, shifts circumstances, makes things easier. But the final step, the part where you step into the new reality that has been shaped for you, is up to you. If we do any magical working and we just sit back and we don't do anything, we don't take any actions in the mundane, a bit like the doing a magical working for a new job and you don't even apply for jobs, you're really limiting your chances of that magic coming to fruition. And I think this applies not just to magic. If we want things to change, if we want things to shift, we need to take actions as well. And I realise that there are some things which are outside of our control, but that doesn't mean to say that nothing is in our control. Another couple of sentences from the book relate to the ritual endurance. Damon Brown says, one of the most difficult things for people to accept about magic is that it operates in ways that don't always make immediate sense. And I think we've probably all experienced this. Sometimes we get results that don't manifest in the way we expect, or maybe we've got a specific expectation about a timeline for when we want magic to do its thing, but magic doesn't work in that way. And the other sentence is, magic works, but it works on its own timeline, bending probability in ways that are often subtle before they become undeniable. And so I think this reinforces that it's really important that when you do this book, even though you may not have seen any results, it doesn't mean that the magic isn't working. You just have to keep going. And it's really odd because these rituals don't take a long time to do every day, but there was about halfway through where I really struggled. I was like, oh, I've got to do this again this morning. It's a lot of work to do something for a whole year. You've got to commit to it if you want it to happen, I think. Damon says that it's not money we want. But this is what I knew quite early on. Being mortgage free for me wasn't about having the extra money in my bank account. So I'll read what Damon says. You don't actually want money. Nobody does. You want what money brings. Security, freedom, new experiences, a sense of control over your life. When I was thinking about being mortgage free, it was freedom from having that huge amount of debt, but also having the additional money in my bank accounts. That gave me freedom over choice. So freedom and choice, I guess, were the biggest things that I wanted. And I think that's really key. Figuring out with any type of magic, on the surface it may look like you want one thing, but actually underneath it might be something far deeper. And doing this magic helped me to think about wealth from a wider perspective. It helped me to think of wealth not just about money, but in terms of who I have in my life, who I really care about and they care about me, my health, the fact that I do have a job. I have a lot of things to be grateful for. So wealth became very much tied in with gratitude. And I'm not talking about sort of toxic gratitude where you just pretend everything's okay even when it's not. It really tuned me into getting away from the monetary aspect of wealth and looking at a bigger picture of wealth. The lessons in this book are not just applicable to wealth or money. I think they can be applied to other areas. For example, the ritual around trying to let go of the guilt around having wealth. There are many things that we feel guilty for, and guilt doesn't help us. Guilt can keep us stuck and in a cycle of self-punishment, and so trying to let go of it and replace it with something else, learning what you can do differently next time and moving on. I just feel this book has given me so much more than just thinking about money and wealth. It's changed my perception of what is really important in life. And like I say, I think the cancer diagnosis has certainly amped that up. Money's great, money can make life easier, but it really isn't the be-all and end-all. So I thought I'd give a few key takeaways from the book. So the first one is, I've mentioned, this is not a get-rich-quick working. In my experience, this is a working that will change your relationship with money and wealth, which will hopefully influence the actions that you take in the mundane, that will make you more financially savvy and stable, but that will have a knock-on effect on other areas of your life. That's the next key takeaway. It's the lessons that you learn from this book will benefit you potentially for the rest of your life, not just in terms of how you spend money, your relationship with it, but just in terms of applying the lessons to other areas of your life. I questioned whether the magic caused the monetary outcomes that occurred, and my overall answer to that was maybe. I like to think that the magic increased the odds of certain events happening, but I can't say I know for sure. And I think having a healthy skepticism should form a part of magic. I don't think we should necessarily just say, yep, that definitely was the magic. The mundane and the magic work together to produce the outcome. The final ritual in this book is about letting go. And it's interesting because even before I got to that ritual, I noticed this when I got the phone call from the insurance company. I actually had a message from them to give them a ring. And I knew that it was probably going to be them telling me whether or not my claim had been accepted. And I remember thinking to myself, well, if it's a no, then it's no loss because I'll just carry on what I've been doing and paying off the mortgage. Of course, there was a hope it would pay out because I thought that would be great. But in all honesty, I did not have any expectation that the insurance policy would pay out at all. But I was okay with it. I just thought, well, life will carry on as it has been up until this point. And so I'd let go. I wasn't holding on tightly for this result of having this money come into me so that I could pay off the mortgage. And I don't know, I do feel maybe there was something about that. Maybe me letting go and not holding on to that tightly, maybe that allowed things to move in the way they moved. I mentioned at the beginning about significance of dates. So I kept a journal. So that's my journal for the book. I looked at the dates that I started and finished this book. I started this book on the 32nd anniversary of my father's death. So my father died when I was 13 years old. And I finished the book the day before what would have been his 80th birthday. And I knew it was really odd because I was looking at those two dates and I was like, there's something about those dates. And then I realised and I thought, but okay, so what has my dad got anything to do with this? What way would this relate? And the thing is, my curiosity about there being something else going on in this physical reality was sparked by my father's death. The day of his funeral, I had an experience which suggested to me that he was in the home. He had died at home. No one else had this experience. As far as I know, it was just me. From that point onwards, I felt that he was around. When I was having difficult times in my life, he gave me hope. So he is the reason I've gone down this path of spiritual practice and practicing magic, because I have that curiosity about what is actually this reality about, what is really going on. So in this bit, I just want to talk about a few extra things that I did in the book. All you really need to do is look in the book, read through the information for that's linked to each ritual, and then perform the ritual, which is chanting a name and looking at the sigil. I added some extras in because they felt right to me. And I'm not saying that these made the magic work any better. I don't believe that, but I added them in because it helped me to tune in better psychologically. So I'm just going to come around here and show you this candle. So I wanted to get a green candle because colour green is associated with wealth. And I wanted to get a candle that would stand the test of time to last for about a year, because I didn't really want to replace a candle partway through the working. And to be fair, I'm just looking at it, it's burnt down to about there. So it's not even halfway burnt down. This candle is from Star Child in Glastonbury. I ordered it from their online store, and that stand as well, I ordered that from them. So this is done really well. This was in my spending frivolously era right at the beginning. I bought this huge citrine. What I would do is have the candle, and then I would have the citrine set there, and also these 4 crystals, which I bought after I'd got the citrine. I was on vacation in Somerset and we went to Glastonbury. So I bought some crystals. So that's citrine. I think if I remember, this is blue agate. This is tiger's eye. And this last one is pyrite, or I think they call it fool's gold. The crystals would go around this, be positioned around the candle stand. You don't have to add anything extra on at all. That's just what I did. What I would also do, and I will show you the book, I'll give you an example of a ritual. I've not picked this ritual for any particular reason. So if you can see there comes a point where hesitation becomes more costly than risk. This ritual anchors your intent into action so that the momentum created by your magic doesn't go to waste. What I did was I switched the word you or your for I or me. So the ritual anchors my intent into action so that the momentum created by my magic doesn't go to waste. The reason I did that was because it was almost like speaking that into my experience. So I would read through that every time that I did the ritual before I started the ritual. I felt that helped me get psychologically into it, and just it was a good reminder of what the ritual was about, to be honest. I realise this has been a long video. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comments, and if I can answer them, then I will. Thank you so much for watching. Be well, and I will speak to you again soon.